Hello everyone, my name is Antoni Alves. I'm 17 years old and today I'm going to talk about the city of Chui. This is my part for the Link Locations project and I chose to talk about this city mostly because of its geographical position and it being very curiously located in the border between Brazil and Uruguay. Chui is located between Brazil and Uruguay, in the south of our state and in the northeast of Uruguay. Its population is very small, almost 6.2 thousand people live there on the Brazilian side, plus roughly 10,000 people who live there on the other side of the border. Most of the people are Uruguayan and Brazilian, but there live some foreigners there as well, like Palestinians and such who came to the city mostly because of business. Although the city has a very small population, it is a very important place because of its geography and, of course, its importance to both countries that divide it. In the Brazilian side, the city was part from Santa Vitória do Palmar and became its own separate city in 1995. Its objective was to be the center of diplomatic relations between the countries from Latin America, although its origins come from a long time ago. There were lots of conflicts in the region that today forms Uruguay. Both Portugal and Spain wanted to colonize the most land possible and form their empires, so when land that both wanted was disputed, people would fight and decide who kept the land on treaties and other documents. In 1680, just in front of Buenos Aires, Portugal established a village named Colônia de Sacramento to maintain the land that today forms Uruguay. And to support this village, the Portuguese established in 1737 Rio Grande. After that, while traveling between the two villages, a man named Cristóvão Pereira de Abreu made an outpost at the shores of Arroio Chui. 10 people developed the city around this outpost. After that, in 1777, the Spanish destroyed most of Colônia de Sacramento, which led to the creation of the Treaty of Saint Ildefonso. This treaty said that the land between Taim and Chui was a neutral zone that nobody could colonize. But Portugal didn't care about this treaty and just kept sending soldiers and people to colonize this land. Everything was going alright, but then Brazil, which turned independent and its own monarchy, wanted to attack Uruguay and take the country as a province. The Brazilians started sending troops and attacking Uruguay and led to more wars and stuff, and could hold on to Uruguay for 7 years until rebellions made Brazil leave Uruguay alone and be its own country. And finally, in 1851, after many battles that destroyed and rebuilt Chui, they signed a treaty that made them the old neutral zone beyond by Brazil. To this day, there are forts and other buildings from this colonial era of the region. Both the Uruguayan and the Brazilian parts of the city have incredible beaches and other landmarks. Both of them have their own part of the city named Barra do Chui or Barra del Chui, depending on whom you ask, where you can find the coast and the southernmost point from Brazil. The population there is around 700 people, but when it gets close to the end of the year and everyone is on their holidays, it can get to around 2,000 people living there. Many people in the city speak and make its own Portunhol, a mix between Portuguese and Spanish. Mostly on the holidays, you can visit Arroio Chui, which has a small stream of water that is divided in the middle by Brazil and Uruguay. Close to it, you can find Chui's lighthouse, one of many things you can find on the coast. Just a little north of the border, you can find Hermenegildo's Beach, a chill place where you can relax until you travel to other places. For example, when going to the Uruguayan side, you pass by a museum called Hamilton Coelho. Hamilton is a sculptor who lives very close to the border, and he makes sculptures out of waste he finds in the sea. He's very keen on keeping the planet and waters clean, and this is the way he found of helping it get better. So it's a good message he gives, and a good place to think of going while traveling by the city. By the Uruguayan side, you can find a beach named Punta del Diablo, which is very close to Chui. After going to many beaches, you can visit an historical site, such as Fuerte San Miguel. This fort is at west of Chui. It has a very interesting history. It was taken back and forth between Spain and Portugal. Both of them were attacking this fort and taking for them. And when they stopped having wars, the fort became a little useless. So in 1937, it officially became a historical site. There you can find tons of historical things from the colonial age, such as uniforms and weapons from soldiers and other older items used at the time. When visiting the fort, you can also have a pretty good view of the scenery from the surroundings by strolling to Cerro Picudo, that has an elevation of roughly 100 meters. In the surroundings you can see Santa Teresa's fort, which is another fort I'm going to talk about, Chui, and 18 de Julho. The river that named the fort as well is River San Miguel, and some rice fields. This fort is usually open between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. For children under 12, and for the elderly over 65, the entry is free. But for the rest of people, you will need to pay 50 Uruguayan pesos, roughly 7 Brazilian real. They only accept pesos there, so be aware. Talking about forts, you can visit as well Santa Teresa's fort, which is closer to Punta del Diablo. It has the same entry fee as San Miguel's fort. The history of this fort is very similar to San Miguel's, with some minor twists. This fort too was taken back and forth between the colonizing powers, but this one was more important than San Miguel's. And even the British tried to attack the fort in 1775, but to no avail. After many wars and treaties between the nations of Portugal and Spain, the fort was used in battles between Brazil and Uruguay, being used by both nations to their advantage. Then the fort was used in the big war that happened in Uruguay as a prison in 1895. After that, people started its restoration in 1927 and reinforced the area. This fort only became a museum in 1987. Also, going back to the city, there's one curiosity about it I'd like to talk about. It was very well planned, so there's lots of straight avenues, one that divides the city in two, on the border between the Uruguayan and Brazilian part. For the Uruguayans, the avenue is called Avenida Brasil, and for the Brazilians, it's called Avenida Uruguay. And there's lots of other roads and avenues named after countries from Latin America, like Peru Road, Venezuela Road, and Argentina Road, and even Panama Road. But most of these are on the Brazilian side. As for the Uruguayan side, the roads are named after big cities and regions from both Uruguay and Rio Grande do Sul, like Porto Alegre Road, Rio Grande Road, Melo Road, Jaguarão Road, and many more. The cuisine of the city is one of the most curious ones. There you can find a mix of Uruguayan and Brazilian foods, with lots of different tastes and flavors. You can find the churrasco gaúcho, the chimarrão, and other classic foods and drinks from our state. Typical foods from Uruguay you can find as well, such as choripan, chivito, pancho, and of course with tons of seafood as well, from the beach nearby. For example, fried shrimps and paellas, a dish commonly made with octopus, shrimps, and squid. The economy of the city is mostly based on shops for people that pass by, including duty-free shops and other types of services. With little to no industry other than the services industry, the city gets most of its value from vacations and from people who pass by, mostly Argentinians going to the Brazilian beaches in Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina. So when people go to Chui, either they are going to have a good time in the city or they pass by it to have a good time in another city. When people choose to stay in the city, there are lots of restaurants and hotels for everyone. So there's lots of places to stay and relax while on vacation there. Also, there are tons of parks, campgrounds, walks, and other types of trips where people get money from the visitation.